What's new with the 2020 Chargers besides the wide body?
Well, the big news really right now is the wide body. You got the Hellcat wide body and you got the Scat Pack wide body. Scat Pack's actually our best-selling Charger and our best-selling Challenger. The car's been a huge hit because it's the most horsepower for the dollar in the market, and then you add the wide body to it, and it's just an amazing package.
Great. All right. So what are the horsepower and torque numbers for the 2020 Chargers, respectively, either one?
Well, you got a Pentastar V6, it's 300 horsepower. You go up to the 5.7 liter Hemi, 6.4 and 6.2, all the way up to 707 horsepower on the Charger. And then on the Challenger side, you go up to the 707 and then also the Red Eye on top of that, which is essentially the Demon engine in a Hellcat, and that's 797 horsepower.
Okay. And what about the Scat Pack? What's
Scat Pack's 485 horsepower.
485. All right. So why the 707 horsepower on the Charger and not the 717 from the Challenger?
Well, if you look at the design of the two cars, if you look at the hood on the Challenger, originally it was 707. When we went to the dual snorkel hood, we get about the similar amount of airflow that we got on the Demon, so it's all intake, which is what gives us the extra 10 horsepower. We don't have that on the Charger, so you got the 707, but to be honest with you, it's all in the upper RPM range.
What are the added benefits of the wide body rather than just cosmetics?
Well, cosmetics for one, that's going to be the biggest thing everybody's going to notice, but really it goes way beyond that, because having that wide body gives us all that extra space in the wheel well, which allows us to go from a 275 up to a 305 on a 20 by 11 inch wheel. All that extra rubber is going to make the car handle better and accelerate better because you're going to get more traction. So our 0 to 60 at 3.6 seconds, does a quarter mile in 10.9 with regular street radials, and pulls 0.96 G on the skid pad. And the Scat Pack actually pulls 0.98 because it's actually a little bit lighter.
Okay. Wow. All right. And then when can we expect to see these in dealerships?
So we start building them in the fourth quarter. You'll see them at the end of the fourth quarter, beginning of the first quarter.
Okay. Great. Are there any plans for an all-electric or hybrid Charger in the future? Have you talked about it? You even think it's feasible?
So everyone asks about electrification on the muscle cars, and right now we're not announcing anything on that, but I will tell you, in general, I think there is a very important space in the future. The question is, I don't know when, but I think electrification will be very important in that space when the price points become attainable. Because if you look at it today, the exotics are already there. You got the 918, you got the LaFerrari, you got the new Ferrari that just came out, you had the NSX. The technology has advantages, but the price point needs to get more accessible.
Cool. So why keep these sedans? You're one of the few companies now, the American companies at least, that are keeping sedans around and live and well. Why keep them?
Well, we still have a very strong customer base for these vehicles. And if you look at the Charger actually technically is in the full-size sedan segment, but it does not really get cross-shopped with those vehicles at all. Mm-hmm. When people are looking at a Charger, it's a choice between a Charger and a Challenger. So the number one cross-shop vehicle to a Charger is a Challenger, and the number one cross-shop vehicle to a Challenger is a Charger. Then after that, it goes to Camaro and then Mustang. So really, we say it's a four-door muscle car, but it really is in the customer's eyes.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So could we be seeing a complete redesign of the Chargers or Challengers anytime soon, or are you going to keep going?
Not anything that we're talking about today, not anything that we're ready to announce, because the cars today, we refreshed them in 2015 model year, and we've continuously evolved them since then. So we haven't had a refresh since 15, but we've had major actions 3 times since then. So we've kept the vehicles very fresh.
Cool. And kind of going back, how we talked about the electric and more efficient options. Have you considered putting smaller engines in the lower trim levels of the Chargers? Or?
Well, if you look at that, it's a very important point. Is we have today a 300 horsepower Pentastar V6 that gets 30 miles per gallon. Mm-hmm. That is not going to be the highest MPG you're going to get in, say, the mid-size segment or the full-size segment. But if you look at the price of fuel today and compare 30 miles per gallon to, say, 34 miles per gallon, and then the difference in the trade-off in vehicle you're going to get from a regular, everyday, mainstream mid-size sedan compared to, say, a Charger with a Pentastar, I'll take this all day long and pay the extra $3 a week for the gas.
Right. Yeah, that's very, very good answer. I like that one. So what's your favorite part about these new Chargers?
What's my favorite part?
Yeah.
Well, the performance for sure.
Okay.
But you really can't have the performance without the look. So the combination is really lethal. When you got a car that looks like this, with the attitude like this, and then it can back it up with the performance, that's really a lethal combination.
Yeah. And are there any plans for a red eye of the Hellcat Charger anytime soon?
You know, everybody asks about that, but to be honest with you, there's nothing else in this segment or in this space, the sedan space, that has this level of power and performance at 160 mile or 196 mile an hour top speed and a 10-second quarter mile time. So really, we're really at the top of the segment right now.
Right. So yeah, that makes sense. So you're going to Pikes Peak relatively soon, right?
We're going to Pikes Peak this weekend.
Okay, yeah, this weekend. So what's the difference between a Pikes Peak car and a normal wide body?
That's funny. The Pikes Peak car is a full-on race car, but what's interesting about that is it's not that far from stock. Really what it is, it's a wide body Charger with a lot of safety equipment, roll cage. It's a modified 6.2 liter supercharged engine. So similar base engine, but with a lot more power. Similar powertrain with the 8-speed and the independent rear suspension. And then the wide body kit with different wheels and tires and some suspension tuning. It's fairly representative of a stock car, but it is a full-on race car.
Okay. So what's next for Dodge in the future? What can you see? Where do you see it going? What's going to change?
Well, since this car now is about 2 hours old, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
We'll see what comes after that.
Okay. And then is there anything else you'd like to add about the new Chargers or Dodge in general?
No, the only thing I would like to say about Dodge is, you know, I talked about earlier in my comments about how we've carved out a space for this brand, and we talk about being the 3% brand, and you can look at 3% being not good, but if you look at 3% and do the math on a 17 million unit industry, it is a very good place for us, and we're looking for 3% very highly passionate, engaged customers, which is what we have today, and we want to keep growing that base, and we want the other 97% to understand what we're doing, be neutral to what we're doing, not necessarily have to be part of it.